What's going on, it's the Rap Nerd, and with the release of A Clown in a Cornfield last week, it really got me thinking, what are my favorite killer clown horror films? I made a list and I figured I would share them with y'all, and that's why we're here today. So to start things off, this is my favorites list. This is not a best list, so if your film that you think is the best or is your favorite is not on this list, this by no means is disrespect to you. I just figured it would be fun to put this out there because I really haven't seen that spoken about much, even though clowns are heavily associated with horror. And this is the best time to do it. You know, I might put y'all on game onto something you've never seen or remind you of something you saw but you forgot about. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm going to start off with some honorable mentions and joints that didn't quite crack the top 10. And the first one is Killer Book Club. It is a slasher movie that I believe takes place in Spain. So it does have English subtitles, or you can watch it dubbed English, and it's on Netflix. And it's about this group of college students, I believe, who are getting hunted down one by one by this killer who wears like this clown mask, and it's all based on a book that they read. Not the greatest by any means, but I really enjoyed it. I'm a fan of a well-made slasher, and that's what this movie is. A movie from the 80s called Slaughter High, which is about a group of adults who were called back for a school reunion only to be killed by a guy wearing a jester mask. I think it's pretty fun, but doesn't really crack my top 10. Next is The Funhouse, which is another 80s movie where these kids decide to visit a funhouse overnight and stay the night, and then they're confronted by a bunch of freaks who are part of the circus of Funhouse. It's a fun little 80s joint that I watch every summer because it just gives me those vibes, but it doesn't quite crack my top 10. Another one is Spawn, though it's not really based on a clown. The villain is a clown, and he kind of freaked me out back in the day, so I just wanted to mention that one too. So now let's get into my top 10. At the number 10 spot is a movie called DriveThru that released in 2007. And in this film, a fast food restaurant mascot comes out to kill a whole bunch of young adults. And that's pretty much the premise of it. I feel like this movie was made with the intention of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey with Ronald McDonald, even though that character never really went public, so nobody could do it. But I feel like this is their version of that film because it's just a killer clown who looks demented, who really is popping up killing kids for a reason that doesn't make much sense. But it is a fun movie. It is so of the time. It's one of those time capsule films that as soon as you watch it, if you grew up during this era and you remember it, the clothing, the way people talk, even the way the film is shot, it all is a staple of that time, and I have a lot of fun with it. I rewatched it recently, and it's a tongue-in-cheek, senseless horror with some good gore. So if you're a fan of slashers like this, I would say give it a watch. It's on Tubi right now, but I really love that movie, as dumb as it is. At the number 9 spot is a movie called Gags the Clown. Now, what I love about this film is it's a found footage movie. It was released, I think, in 2018 or 19, and this was that time period when people were randomly dressing up as clowns in public, doing creepy shit. So this story is kind of an anthology story in a sense. There's one mainstream line of this clown named Gags who is in this town of Ohio that is associated with murders and disappearances. So you had the cops trying to find this clown, and you have footage from their body cams, and you also have other people in the city who are looking for Gags and also trying to pull pranks themselves. So you get a lot of different found footage type things with people involving clowns in freaky ways, sinister ways, and some are just flat out funny, and it is worth watching if you are into found footage for sure, because I've never seen a movie involving clowns like this. And it's actually pretty creepy in some spaces, so go ahead and give that a watch if you're interested in a found footage clown movie. So at the number 8 spot is a movie called Stitches, and a guy who dresses up as a clown gets invited to a party with a bunch of badass kids who accidentally kill this guy. Yes, you heard that right. And through some freak magic accident, he is brought back from the dead when these kids at the party are now teenagers. So he returns and acts out revenge. Now this movie is a whole lot of fun, a lot of over-the-top bloody kills that are sure to have you laughing your ass off in true clown format. I'm actually gonna watch this pretty soon because of how fun it is. It's a British movie too, so a lot of the humor in the kills fits that type of humor. And it's something that you just have to watch to really see. I believe it might be on one of the free networks, but man, I'm telling you, it's such a joy to watch because a lot of the kids are assholes, except like one of the main dudes who you follow, who kind of acts as the final boy in this movie. But the rest of them, you want to see him die. You don't really care about him, and I believe the movie just leans on that totally and gives an excuse to have some epic kills. So if that sounds like it's up your alley, go ahead and give it a watch now. At the number 7 spot for me is the Terrifier 3. I think that this is the best movie out of all of them. I like all of them. The first one being one that I stumbled across randomly. It's a little Halloween low budget movie that definitely served its purpose, because here we are now with Terrifier 4 on the cusp, so you can tell it did its job. So I feel like all of the versions of art, Terrifier 1, Terrifier 2, All Hallows Eve, all amalgamated to give us this film, and I feel like it's a real movie. There are actual stakes, there's character drama, there's emotional performances. I feel like the gore is enough, not as crazy and over the top as 2, but it's still there in Terrifier format, and I believe it is shot beautifully. I love the cinematography. It looks like Black Christmas, and that's one of my favorite horror movies, especially that old vintage style of filmmaking where it's desaturated but the contrast is higher, so you get this nice warm tone, but also the film grain is ramped up so it feels gritty. Just a really good slasher film, and one of my favorites that I'm gonna revisit every December. And you get the uniqueness from Art as you do in the rest of the films, and to see Art in a Santa suit chopping people up, what more could you ask for? At the number 6 spot is a movie called Funhouse Massacre. It is released in 2015, and it takes place on Halloween night, and these young adults go to this Halloween festival where there are some demented killers on the loose. And they soon realize that these killers aren't part of the act, and they have to find their way out. Now, the movie doesn't fully focus on clowns, but 2 of the main villains are dressed up as clowns. One that kind of reminds me of Harley Quinn, and the other is this big jack dude who has a clown mask on, but he is actually somebody's face that he ripped off. So you can imagine what happens when it comes to the violence. And it's a standard type film. The characters are all goofy and playing into being over the top, but boy, this is a fun one that I watch every single Halloween, and that's really what I'm selling the movie off of, is just how fun it is. So if you're interested in that, wait till Halloween to watch it, because if you watch it now, you will mess yourself up and be in that mood. At the number 5 spot is It Chapter 2. This seems to be the one that people don't like a lot, but I love it, honestly. I think that the way that they handled the adults in this segment of the story was pretty damn good. I found it to be scary. I found like they ramped up a lot of the horrific images, and Skarsgård as Pennywise is just fantastic and doing even more over the top stuff than Chapter 1. And I'm pretty sure everyone's seen this movie, so there's really no need for me to go into it. But again, I just like how beautifully shot it is, the performances, the actors, the horror elements. And for me, the opening of the film sets the tone for the entire film, and I kind of hang on to that as I watch the movie as a whole, because I feel like that was purposely put there. And if I remember right, that's actually part of the book. If I remember wrong, you gotta excuse me, but I just love this movie and enjoy how well made it is. This is like blockbuster horror, fantasy horror, and what you can do when you have a budget in this genre. So I really love the film. At the number 4 spot is a movie called Clown, and believe it or not, this is directed by John Watts, and this is why I never can downplay him, because a lot of people don't think that he is a great director because of what he's done in the MCU. But man, this is about a dude who dresses up as a clown for part-time work, and he accidentally puts on this magical nose and he starts to turn into a clown. So as the movie progresses on and on, he's changing into this entity where clowns derive from, and the movie explains it in a way that says clowns were like really demons back in the day. I forgot what the lore is, but you'll see it in the film. So you can imagine as he begins to transition into this thing, it just goes downhill very, very fast in a lot of different ways. It is emotionally heart-wrenching because you see this dude struggling to do better, and he's not in a better situation. And it starts slow, but I'm telling you, it just rolls into insanity. This movie right here tells me all I need to know about John Watson, the kind of director he is. I hope he does get back to horror. I would even love to see him make a sequel to this movie, even though I know that's not going to happen. But man, what a unique take on clowns. And if you're a fan of horror clowns, this is one you definitely should check out. Now, this may be a little blasphemy to some people, but at the number 3 spot for me is Clown in a Cornfield. To me, this is like damn near a perfect slasher movie. I see a lot of people who give it shit for being entry-level horror and thinking like it doesn't go that hard, but to me, horror doesn't have to go over the top hard to be good. I love that it's a through and true slasher that gives me all of the elements that I look for in a slasher, but also chooses to dive a little deeper in the content it's providing with the commentary on the generational age gap. I think that to me is the chef's kiss of the movie, and once you get to the halfway mark on, I love it. And I've never seen a clown movie go this route, because through all of the kills and things that you see, it asks a big question and makes you think about our current state. And also, Friendo is a cool ass costume, and what they did with that character is pretty damn dope, especially with that being the mascot of this city. It all just ties in so well, and I absolutely loved it. This is going to be a staple movie that I watch every fall because it brought those vibes. And if you wonder what I think about the movie as a whole, I got a review up, and go check that out right now. At the number 2 spot is the 1990 version of It, both of those films collected in one. Tim Curry, I think, was the root of a lot of people's fear of clowns. What he did with this character is incredible. How do you make somebody seem like a real clown and likable and just this eerie thing about him, but also creepy as shit? Holy moly. I remember watching this movie on Sci-Fi and it blew me away seeing it. And I can say the first half. The second half I thought was, but with the kids, easily most iconic clown to date because of what he did with that performance. And again, if you're here, you know about that movie, so there's not really much I need to explain, but goddamn is it good. So at the number 1 spot for me is It Chapter 1, the remake. I think that this is a perfect horror film. No issues with it whatsoever. You can nitpick about what's adapted and what's not. I've seen people say things about characterization and how they switch some things around, but again, that's based on, you know, the source material. Movies don't have to operate in the same trajectory as the source material, especially if it delivers everything else. Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise, easily the best adaptation of a character in horror. You know, I gave Tim Curry his flowers for being the root of it, but he took what he did and just amplified it a whole bunch. Not to mention Bill is a big dude, you know, so him in that clown costume is terrifying. A big ass clown, and him being able to encapsulate that voice the way he does and switch in and out to being childlike but also scary and demanding. Such a good job. I love all of the nightmare fuel with the horror imagery, the jump scares, the cinematography. It's shot well, it sounds great. The score is epic, like you would expect from something in the 90s or 80s with that very whimsical orchestral feel to it. All of the child actors in here performed at such a high tier as well. The movie only works because they made it believable. And again, like I said with Chapter 2, this is epic horror. This is fantasy horror at its best when you can put a real budget behind it, and there's a reason why this movie is the highest grossing horror film of all time. The proof is in the pudding, and this is one that I watch every summer. It definitely gives me that vibe of summertime because of the festival and all these things they're doing, the kids out there going on this adventure, and it just feels like summer for me. So absolutely love It Chapter 1, a horror masterpiece that does get its flowers and will always get its flowers. And it's solely the movie where I will never doubt Andy Muschietti. So that's my top 10 list of clown films. Let me know in the comments what are yours. And again, be respectful. So for this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, thank you. And until next time, peace. Rap Nerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy. Instead of banking on it, now rapping is just a hobby.